Good evening and welcome to our Leaders, Our Listeners show, presented by HETS, Harvest Educational Transformation Solutions. I'm Dr. Aruna Wadkar, Director of HETS. I now welcome our special guest, Michelle Mras, who will be giving us an insight on leadership and how listening is important in leadership. Let me tell you just about Michelle Mraz. She is a very chubby. When you look at her videos, she is very bubbly. But then, let me tell you that Michelle is an inspirational speaker, international coach, corporate trainer with the John Maxwell Leadership Team, international TEDx speaker, and communication trainer at Colorado. She brings her personal anecdotes and passion to energize and evoke personal change around her and positive change as well. Michelle's formal education is extensive, spanning from engineering, marketing, quality systems, and politics. But her real education stems from her and the hard lessons she has learned from that throughout. Michelle's infectious presentations inspire her audience to outsmart their inner critic to achieve life altering transformation, which is going to happen as well with our viewers who are the other side. She conquers with courageous clients to achieve and be their best version politically. Over to you, Michelle. Please take on the session now, and I know that it will be rocking. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, and welcome to everyone who's joined us live, and for those of you who will be on the recording. So my name is Michelle Mras, as all those, whoever that was that Doctor was talking about, it's me. Well, let's get on with it. I would like to share my screen, so 1 second, please. You see it okay?
Yes, we can view the screen, Michelle.
Okay, so being the best leaders are listeners. And when I met you, I was talking about how HETS was talking about leadership and bringing it to the children and all of that. And I thought, this is what I want to talk about, that leaders are listeners. But what is a leader? A leader knows the why. So basically, the leader knows who, basically anyone who has their why can bear almost any how. And we say that because really, if you know what your why is, you can make it through anything because you know what you're going for. The next thing is influence. My mentor, John Maxwell, says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So if you're the leader, you know the why, you know the influence, and people follow you because of that. Then third, what is a leader? Is they have responsibility. They take personal responsibility, realizing that they can't change the circumstances, the seasons, or the winds, but that they can change themselves. And as the leader, they take that onus upon themselves. So before I go any further, I want to explain who I am and why I think the way I do. In 2014, that was me. I thought I was living my life the way I should be. I thought I was doing everything I was supposed to do as I was told to do. Then I was in a car accident. That car accident triggered something in my life that I would have never believed was a good thing. I thought it was the worst thing, okay? So at that accident, I thought everything was perfectly fine. Nothing's wrong. But 12 days later, I stopped speaking. Then I stopped walking. Then I became trapped in my own mind. That woman turned into this, a faceless, personless, lost in my own mind. And what's bad about it is I couldn't speak and I couldn't move, but in my head, I was fully cognizant. I was forming full sentences. I wrote a book in my head. Everything was still fine in my head. I just couldn't get it to come out. I was lost. 18 months of being trapped in my head, one day I woke up. One day I stood up and I started talking again. And I had this inert feeling that I must speak. Went to the doctors, and the neurologist said they didn't know how much longer I would be able to speak, so enjoy it while it lasts. So I applied to TEDx, and I got on. On October 2015, I did my TED Talk. And if you noticed, there's a different lady in this picture from the one you saw earlier. I did that TED Talk, and when I came off, I was told, "Where's your book?" So I wrote one for my TEDx called Eat, Drink, and Be Merry, A Glimpse into a Life Well Lived, where I edified my mother-in-law, the woman that I learned so much from, how to get up. Then I joined the John Maxwell team in 2016 because people kept telling me I was a leader, but I don't remember being a leader. All I remember was I was in a car accident. I remembered my family. And then I remembered that I have a lot of books that say John Maxwell. So I looked him up, joined his team, and in 2016, met him. Right after meeting John Maxwell in March and April, I found out I had breast cancer. And so by the time they worked on me, I had my surgery in October of 2016. And I had a double mastectomy to save my life. They gave me 3 months to live. So I had to do something to leave a mark so that other people would realize what I've gone through, what I was learning while I was stuck in my head. And I thought, I need a tribe. I need people around me who were leaders, who could help me through things, who could see things that I couldn't see. That's why it's so important to have a tribe. It's so important to have people around you that can help you grow as a leader, as a human, as an educator. Those people surrounded me and helped me to get the second book out of my head. It's Not Luck, Overcoming You. And I wrote that because so many people said, "Oh, you're so lucky, you don't have that 9-to-5 job anymore." I'm like, I'm not lucky. I worked very hard to find who I am. I lost everything. I started from scratch. That's not luck. That's work. Then I went back to the John Maxwell team in 2018, where he awarded me the Culture Award for the John Maxwell team. One out of over 8,000 coaches around the world, I won #1 for attitude. That same year, that same month actually, I went to New Delhi to accept the Women's Economic Forum Award for Women of Inspiration. Now you have to understand, in 2016, they told me I had 3 months to live. Here's 2018, I'm still here. 2018, I turned 50 years old, and I had to take pictures to make sure I knew I was still alive and to prove that I was still vibrant and human. Then 2019, that's me. And then now, me, the one that you're meeting today. What I want you to see is that there's been a transformation, not only physically, but more importantly, mentally. Leadership. What is a leader? Well, we all think it's the one who knows the why, the one with the influence, the one who has the responsibility for others. But what I found through this journey that I just went through is that the leader must lead themselves first. I learned from my experience that I had to learn who I was, why I was. I had to know my why. Why did I want to live? Why did I want to be who I wanted to be? And then I needed to realize I had to influence myself to make better choices for who I am. And then I had to take responsibility for all those choices that I made in the past and learn from them to move forward. So leadership is an inside job. It requires character, so the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. So basically, character is, do you trust yourself? And if you don't trust yourself, how do you expect anyone else to trust you? The second one is integrity, because respect from within draws commands and earns respect from others. So if you have no integrity, if you, who are you when no one's watching? If you like that person, then other people will like that person. So in character and integrity, huge parts of being a leader of self and of others. And what I see very important, and that's what I see in HETS, is the example. People follow and trust leaders who can guide them to release their potential. So no man can climb beyond the limitations of their own character. So when you are looking for someone to follow, looking for someone to guide you, they have to have character integrity, and be the example of which you want to grow into. I had to find that leader in me in order to move forward from a brain injury where they told me I may never speak or walk again, and cancer that told me that I'm going to die in 3 months. I had to take responsibility of who I was, how I reacted, how I chose to react to stressors in my life so that I could live. So it's beyond physical, it's a mental inside job. So I have 4 C's foundation for leadership. So I say it's the brick to the gigantic building, which is you. So many of us get onto our lives and we build our house on sand and it falls. These 4 foundational characteristics are a strong brick foundation for what you can build your leadership skills upon. And they are competence, the ability to do something successfully or efficiently. So basically, are you a good team player? Do you have responsibility? Do you make decisions well? Can you communicate? Do you show results? The other C is connection, a relationship in which 2 or more concepts, objects, people, or how an idea is linked or associated with someone else. Do you have connection? You cannot be a leader if no one wants to be with you. You would be a leader of only yourself. Third is character. Character makes trust possible. And if you don't trust, then there's no leadership possible. So communication is the potential that helps that characteristic of character come into place because it helps build trust. Then the 4th is communication, the ability to clearly and concisely express your thoughts, your goals, your visions. And you have to be able to do that verbally and written. So it takes an education enough to be able to understand what you're good at, what you're not good at, so that you can build your competency, your connection with people, your character of self, and your communication skills. So how do you build trust? Well, the title is, great leaders are listeners. So how do you build trust? You listen, but it's not normal listening. It's undivided attention. Basically, you focus on that person who is talking to you, and you're not looking at your phone. You're not, reading a board on the other side. You're not watching the traffic go by. You are looking into their eyes and listening to them. You focus on understanding, not answering. And so often we get into this mode where we're talking to someone and we're not hearing what they're saying. We're finishing what they're going to say in our minds so that we can answer them. We come up, oh yeah, that happened to me. And you interrupt and you start talking over them. Do not do that. That is not listening. That's waiting to answer. And that is not respectful. That is not part of a good character when you don't allow someone to finish their thought. So the other thing is hold judgment. So often we meet people and we do, look at that. What are they wearing today? Oh, why is this happening? And you start asking questions about the person and they haven't even spoken yet. We've made prejudgment calls. Don't do that. Let them speak. Then sum them up at major intervals. Now, the reason I say that is so often it's a new trend, I guess, that started where we've been told in order to look like you're listening, you need to constantly say, yes, I understand, yes, And what that is, it's you're interrupting the thought process of whomever you're listening to. If you want to build trust, don't interrupt. Allow them to finish their phrasing. Let them finish their thought. And then at the end, you say, oh, so what you said is you feel left out because da, 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 and this has happened. Is that correct? And they do, yes. And what you allow them is to get their whole thought out. By summarizing, they know you listened. But if you keep interrupting with, yes, yes, it's defeating the purpose. And in this world of virtual meetings, the microphone only picks up one person at a time. So if you're on a video call and you're talking, when someone's talking and you keep saying, yes, everything they say at the same time you say yes, no one hears. So more importantly, with the Zoom calls and all of these video calls, is to hold your voice until they finish their sentence. Then lastly is check your emotions. I put a quote by Sigmund Freud because I thought it was funny. A man with a toothache cannot be in love. And I say that because when you're in a conversation, if you come in it thinking of something else, or, oh, traffic was very bad, or, oh, I just got in an argument with so-and-so, and you come and meet this person, you're so angry, or you're so upset, or you're distracted, you're not really listening. You're actually still solving. Your brain is still solving the problem that you left. So what I implore you, what I ask you to do when you want to build trust with your listening, is to focus on someone, listen to them, but check all your baggage at the door. Don't bring all your emotions that you have from another event or from another interaction into that meeting. Clear it. Clear your mind and allow them to be them and you be you in that moment. So for those of you who said, you mean clear my head, I'm very upset. Well, the work by Byron Katie. There are 4 questions to ask yourself. So it will stop you from pondering on that same question over and over and can't get out of that question. So the 4 questions are, is it true? First one. So let's say, I'm so angry with John. He never listens to me. Number 1 question, is it true? No, John does not listen to me. Okay, so it's true. He never listens to me. So number 2, can I be absolutely sure that's true? John never, no, he does listen to me sometimes. So no, I can't say that's always true. So how do I react? What happens when I believe that thought that John never listens to me? Well, I get upset because he doesn't listen to me. Well, number 4, then who would I be without that thought? Who would I be thinking that John never listens to me? I would be happy to think that he actually does listen to me and he understands me. So who would I be without that thought? I'd be a happier person and I wouldn't be so upset whenever John doesn't seem to be listening to me. So you ask yourself the 4 questions to bring your emotional level down so that you can emotionally put those things away so you can focus on the person that's in front of you. So I love to share those questions to ask yourself whenever you're stuck in a circle of anger or angst or depression or whatever. You ask yourself those 4 questions so you can free your mind to go on to the next task. And then lastly, great leaders are listeners, yes, of others and themselves. And that's the key point about being a leader and a listener. You have the trust. The trust foundation is the 4 C's that I spoke about: the competency, the connection, the character, and the communication skills. And that it's an inside job. It starts with the inside of you, your character, your integrity, and the example you give to yourself and the example you share that you expose yourself to. And that comes actually very important too around the world of children, because they're so influenced by social media and by TV and movies and things like that. So that inside job, that example, it also comes from what do you allow into your brain to be an example to you. And then lastly, listen. You listen to yourself, you listen to God, you listen to other people who advise you to be the better person, to grow into the best version of you. And then the last is, the greatest leaders are listeners. And the important part of that is, who do you listen to? And I made this nice little quote. Learn to listen to the quiet voice. Be the leader of yourself, because only then shall you be guided to lead others. And then that's how to reach me. But I will take that down because you know how to reach me already, because it'll be in the post. But I wanted to share that PowerPoint with you because so often we don't realize that we are the example. And not only to the children, to our families, to our friends, we are our own example. And if we cannot be proud of who we are when no one else is looking, who are you leading?
Great. That was an awesome journey of yours, Michelle. And truly, it's very, very inspiring indeed. Each one really learn as to nothing can stop you if you have a strong willpower in you. And, regardless whatever or whatever they comment on doesn't, make you stop for that. Right. So that was an amazing journey that you have really conquered so many obstacles in your life. And here you are today giving us, the insight of your real situations that you underwent, and you're giving us these insights. It's really, really heart overwhelming. Seriously, it is good. So when we talk about, as you said, that listening is like, we have to be carefully listening, because many people, we do selective listening, right? When we do, like, when you're talking, we just want to listen what I want to do or what I want to understand, which is like a selective listening. So how does that differ with a person communicating or the person who's listening? What is by selective listening?
Well, it's human nature, because I don't, you probably heard that. It's most people are thinking, what's in it for me? And so when you're talking, when someone's talking to you, your immediate thing your brain does is, does that work for me? Does that work for me? How does that work for me? Me. And that's why I say,
Right.
you have to pull that emotional state out of you and do, I am here not for me. It's not about me. It's about the other person. And I'm here for them now. And it's a practice. You have to learn to do it, because your natural state is, I wonder what's for dinner tonight. I wonder where we're going. Oh, I wonder what that dog's doing. I mean, that's what we do as humans. And so you have to stop that in your brain and do, I'm focused now, here for you.
Perfect. So yes, so many of us, we just hear selective listening. So even with the explanation from Michelle, we should know that, it is not me, but it is everything that comes when you as, right? So how do you tackle the people we are into leadership? Yes, being as an educator or you being as a principal of a school, regardless, whatever it is. But then the thing is, when a leader is speaking, as you said, we are communicating with anybody in that matter. What happens when they do not listen to you, and what is the consequence of not listening to somebody's advice, as you mentioned earlier as well? What would be the consequence that a person will face?
Well, it depends. People have asked me, as a speaker, when you're speaking to a room of 5,000 people, how do you know that they're listening? You don't.
True.
You don't. There's no way for you can have that many people's attention at the whole time. So what you have to do is you let go of the fact that you don't have the attention of everybody in that room. But the ones who are listening needed to hear you. And the ones who are not listening will learn the lesson some other time. And then that's not your problem. That's their problem. Because, as a teacher, you're teaching, right? And you're up there giving a lesson. You've got 4 students out of 20 who aren't listening. Who's going to not be ready for the test, And so you can't control that. And it's frustrating, especially as an educator. It's like, why aren't you listening to me? But it's their choice. And that's the thing about humans. There's only 3 types of control in the world. There's my control, the other person's control, and God in the universe's control. You can't control God in the universe. You can't control the other person. So you can only control who you are and how you react to the stressors around you. So if you've got people who aren't listening, well, too bad for them. And you're giving what you give, and the people who hear you, hear you.
True. That's very true. So because I have faced a couple of times the same situation. So with all the listening, the leaders who are well listening and all what we heard from you till now, just as I understand it, you are also associated with universities as a teacher trainer. What HETS does, we are more into teacher training. So I would just like to have a few input pertaining to the listening skills as to teacher training. When we do the teacher training, what are the different steps that we can take, and how would we make them understand the concept that we want to?
The teachers, the educators?
Yes, it does read it actually.
Well, that's difficult again, because as teachers and educators, it is, if their why is to educate the children, if their why is to bring up a new generation that's wiser, better, faster, stronger than us, then it would behoove them, it would be in their best interest to be listening. Now, as those who are training, the trainers, basically, to train the teachers and the educators in order to get that point across, to get the knowledge across. You have to remember that everyone learns in multiple ways. We have the kinetic learners, we have the visual learners, we have the auditory learners. So, and then there's some who need more than one combination, they need auditory and kinetic. So like with me, I'm very kinetic. And so I need to move when I'm learning. If I don't move, I don't learn. Which is why in engineering, I did terrible in the math, but I did amazing in the structures. So I could apply the math when I was building a structure. But when you had me just sitting there writing a formula, it didn't stay in my head. But when you asked me to explain it, I could explain it by building something. So you have educators out there who are sitting there with a notepad writing. Well, and really what they need is they need to see it. That's why I did the PowerPoint, because some people must see it. And for those kinetic people like me, sometimes seeing and giving a visual, that's why I put like bricks. That's why I said that, no, the image of me, my face disappearing in a car accident, it helps solidify for people who are kinetic to feel that. They need to feel something in order to remember it. So I put those kind of things in the PowerPoint. So I satisfied the auditory listener, the auditory learners, because I was speaking. I satisfied the visual because I had the PowerPoint, and I satisfied the kinetic because they could write down the words that I had on the PowerPoint, and they could feel some of the images that I put in. So when you teach educators, make sure you teach in multiple forms so that they can grasp in different ways. So like with me, I have a brain injury. If I sit in a lecture and it's nothing but voice, I don't remember anything. My brain injury, combined with the fact that I'm a kinetic learner, I cannot even hear it. I hear them talking, but it doesn't come in. So when you're teaching, those of you who are listening, make sure you give more than one way of absorbing knowledge, and best, all three.
Right. So that's so good to know that, the same method has been followed to what you are talking about, like it's WAC, right? Visual, auditory, and so that is where we talk about the multiple intelligence, where we say only the foundational years are related to multiple intelligence, but that is not right, where it is from the foundational years to the K-12 school students, or even we as educators are having a different mode of learning, as you said. So I'm so happy that in my teacher training, I'm following the same method where, not everybody can learn only when, listening, being auditory, or only by visual, or only by, but then some, yes, hands-on experiences, hands-on activities which we do. It is very much related to kinetic that you are talking about. Yeah. So what is the difference, Michelle, between the K-12? I mean, I know you are more into universities, but how about like, K-12, the students of ninth, higher classes, secondary, and the university? What is the difference of the teacher training in those two aspects? Are there different altogether, or it is like, the methodology is the same with the teacher training as such?
I would say it's actually the same, because what we found is K through 12, we teach them differently. And when I work into the colleges, it's like, wait a minute, we should be teaching the K through 12 about the same way, with mutual respect, with dignity, with being helpful and giving them compassion. In K to 12, we do, okay, do this. This is how we do it. You're a kid, just do this. And we don't realize that they're brilliant too. Just because they're younger doesn't mean they're not smart, okay? And so when they get to college, we switch and we do, okay, you've got this, you're an adult, you're in college now, you should do this. And then they're doing, wait a minute, for the past 12 years, you've been telling me everything, and now you're just saying, here's a syllabus, do it. And so we change the way we teach them, and we shouldn't. We should be always teaching them with courtesy and wisdom and generosity, and talking to them about, well, how do you see this? How do you view this? If you had a chance to do it differently, how would you do this? Because we don't realize it, and well, some of us do. We are wiser than we think we are, even at the younger age. And they see things differently than those of us who are older, who have been marred by life. And like one of the universities I train with, the children were saying, how come engineering takes so long? I can solve this whole engineering thing in like 50 questions, 50 different equations. We can all learn engineering. And the other mentor said, what do you mean? And so the students sat and they wrote everything out and said, see, this is all 4 years of engineering in 50 equations. Why do it take 4 years? And it was like, wow, because we had been doing it the same way for years and years and years, we just assumed that's the only way. These young children, these 19-year-old children, recreated a whole new way to learn engineering in 50 equations. Why waste 4 years of your life if you could be changing the world in one?
Right.
So,
right.
Yes, there's a difference, but I believe there should not be a difference. We should respect people for the minds that they are, foster them, grow them, and allow them to expand beyond what we believe is true.
Right. And when saying this, I relate to what is happening nowadays with the educators. I mean, the teachers' fraternity to the students. There's a lot of gap between, the fraternity of teachers to be understanding the mindset of students. They never come. We tell them that you go to the level of the children, but we hardly try to bring the children to the level us to increase their understanding level. So which one is right? When many of the trainers also say that teachers go down to the level of the children. Do we do that? Or we make sure that we scale up the students to the level we want to really bring them to understand what we want to? How do you think that?
I believe we meet halfway. Because here, when we say go down to the children, we make the perception that they are lesser than us. And in my mind is, we can learn so much more from them, from their fresh minds. And so I would say, meet us halfway. Have the children meet us, expect more from them. They can do more than we allow them to. And then for those, the teachers, the educators who are up wanting to go down, say, no, meet halfway. Don't speak smaller words. Don't make anything minimized. Let them learn to grow up to you. So like with me growing up, my teachers were, I don't know, they spoke like they normally spoke to another adult. And so when I didn't understand, I would do, excuse me, what does that mean? And they would do, oh, da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. And I would learn and I would jump a little further up. And so I know my growth process, it was expounded because I hung around with the teachers after school. I was the student who would stay and help the teachers clean up, and I would ask them what was going on, and I would ask if I can help. It was just who I was. And because I was with the teachers all the time, I learned how they spoke and I learned how they thought. And I think I excelled because of that. I went up to them and they never spoke down to me. They brought me up with them. So when I see that teacher-student relationship, I always think meet halfway, because the kids who are there talking to you, they want more. They want more, and you could give them more. But if you put them down and say, you're just a kid, you stay out of this, what are you teaching them? You're teaching them that when they get older, they can look down at students or look down at their children. We need to mutually respect each other and grow together, find compassion and being helpful with where they need help or where we need help. Because I can tell you, even as an adult, there are times when I look at my own children and say, this is happening. What do I do? I mean, and they do, Mom, you're mom. I do, yeah, but I don't know that. I'm not a techie person, right? So we can learn from each other. Let's meet halfway.
Great. That was a wonderful explanation to our, the teacher fraternity who are watching us across. That was a really wonderful explanation. Usually what we do, Michelle, is in schools, because I know you are with a very expert trainer as well. So I'm putting down these questions so that, everybody can understand what exactly should the training be as well. So it is like, we usually club all the categories like, pre-primary, primary, middle school, high school, secondary, all the teachers or the educators in one forum and just go ahead with the training? Do you think that is the right way to be training the teachers?
In segments? Is that how you do it? You do it in segments?
Yeah, so we have to, that is what I'm asking you, that is it good if we club all the segments together? I mean, from the lower level to the higher level, from primary to the secondary level, together on one forum, and we give them a training. Would that be really useful, or is that the right method?
I don't know if there's a right or a wrong method, because the way I would do it, the way I see it, is you would train an overall group. And in that group,
Mm-hmm.
they pull segments out and train them separately, because they're working with different age group minds. So, you'll have the teenage years where they're distracted with hormones, and they don't want to think. And so then you've got the younger kids who are just, they want to kinetically move. They want to move. They want to move. And so you've got different segments of children in their segments. So yes, I think an umbrella teaching would be great, but to work with the mindsets of those age groups that they work with should be separate, so they can understand how they all work separately, but then how they all work together. Because again, I'll use that example. I wasn't like other kids. So when I was in, let's say, when I was like 8, 9 years old, I was with the kids that were 10 and 12 years old. So when I was with the teachers, they realized I wasn't with the kids that were my age. I was actually more advanced. And that's why I was struggling in that other grade, because I didn't relate to those kids. I didn't want to run around like that. I wanted more. And so they let me do more assignments in the higher grades, because it was preoccupying my mind. It was calming me down. But in my grade with my age, I was misbehaving. I was misbehaving because I was bored, because I needed more, and they weren't giving me, they're giving me coloring and I wanted math. So by the teacher seeing the different segments, they would say, wait a minute, this student isn't misbehaving, this student needs more, or this student isn't misbehaving, they didn't grow from the other segment. So yes, teach in one big forum, but recognize the different segments that each of these educators are teaching to. So a combination.
Right. Great. So, why, you would be wondering, like, why am I asking about this teacher training aspect of it? The only reason I wanted to understand, how am I as a person, it's always good to reflect on what you're doing from people feedback and how they are doing it. So we get to know that, yes, we are on actually, right? So I'm so happy that the thought, what you have shared with me right now, or shared with us right now, what HETS is doing and what I'm trying to implement in the teacher training aspects. Thank you so much for that. Okay, diverting from the teacher training aspect, Michelle, let me just, hear that, in spite of the obstacles that you mentioned in the beginning, I still, on many forums, you are very, I connected with you because of the cheerfulness, because of the open mindset that you have, and the what I call the charm that you have in yourself, and make other people smile, laugh. So how do you get that? How can a person get into it in spite of so many obstacles that one has faced? Because right now we see many women across, okay, that they, a small thing, but they get so much depressed, they get so much, okay, I'm nothing, I'm nowhere valued, I'm not counted in any of the groups. It is so very saddening to make them, when they see them feel that way, because sometimes I get calls, I have many of the people whom do I do a bit of counseling to them as well, but then it is so very difficult to put that motivation and that coming to pull them out of that mindset. So can you give some pointers where women out there would also learn to be coming out and just have life what they want?
Well, I used to be one of the people who were always depressed and always beating themselves up for not being who they are. Oh, I'm not this, so I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm not this, I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm not worthy. I used to be that person. And when I had my car accident and was trapped in my mind, I got very depressed. And I thought the world was after me, God was after me. Someone wanted me dead and just didn't do a good job of it. And then I realized that, I'm worthy. I want to live. And then when I found out I had breast cancer, they said, you have 3 months to live. And when they put me under, they said, we don't know if you're going to wake up from this anesthesia. So you may not wake up. Now, when you're going into something major surgery like that with cancer, told you only have 3 months to live if you make it through the surgery,
right,
your perception of life changes. So when I was going under, I may never see my husband or my family again. My last thought wasn't, gosh, I hope I look good in that dress. I hope when they bury me, I look good. No, I didn't worry about how much money I'd made. I didn't worry about what I looked like. I didn't worry. Nothing was important anymore. It was, who knows I love them? Do the people in my world realize that how much I care and how much I would give for them? And so when I woke up after that surgery, I was so happy. And they said, why are you so happy? I mean, you just had major surgery. I said, it's not major. You cut off my breast. I don't need them. They're just, I had my babies already. I don't even need them. And so I was laughing and they said, why? You're so happy. I've never met anyone like you. And I said, I'm alive. I would rather be without breast and alive than die with breast. So that shifted. And then after all the different major things that happened in my life afterwards, I had a total of 8 surgeries in 3 years, big surgeries in 3 years. And the cancer had moved through my body. So I've had a lot of things going on with this cancer. And I could sit around and do, oh, it's terrible. I'm not worthy. Or I can say, I'm going to live the best life I'm going to live until I die. And if I'm going to die, I'm going to die smiling, laughing, and screaming, woohoo! I mean, I'm just going to have a great time. I'm not going to let my last day on earth be sitting on a couch feeling sorry for myself. Because no one is promised tomorrow. And so stop apologizing for what you're not and start appreciating who you are and loving who you are, and live the best day of your life every day, so that when you are on your deathbed, you do not have I wish I could have. I know if I died today, everyone who knows me knows I care for them, and I know I could leave this earth content in what I've done. That's the best present you can ever give yourself, to be unapologetically yourself instead of trying to please everybody else.
right. So that was really motivating, Michelle. It's a lesson out to all the women there, and especially at this time of pandemic that is all over the world that is taking up, and people are, they don't know how to react to situations, how to face life, and what to do. But then, yes, nothing is permanent. You have to think that this is just a phase and we have to pass by. So everything in your life, whether it's an obstacle or a pandemic or anything as such, is not permanent. It will phase away. So that was a nice motivation from your end, Michelle, to our women across there and all of them there. So yes, and I'm so very happy to be having that discussion with you, with all these aspects that that you portrayed today. And I would be very glad that I would be tapping you for every now and then to be taking your suggestions and from you. Even sometimes even we never know, even I may feel low, so I will definitely tap Michelle and ask, okay, Michelle, this is what I'm facing, I need to have a word. So that was great, Michelle, to having you on board today. and I'm looking out for more and more advices from your end and for a long connect as well. And thank you, all the viewers out there. And I hope that this evening on a weekend was a productive one for you, a motivating one for you, and a lesson to be learned as leaders as well. Thank you, one and all. And thank you, Michelle, once again. Thank you.